So you might have heard that there's a fair bit of male nudity in this film, and yet what you've heard is correct. There certainly is, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with the violence. And yeah, it's a fairly violent film. I mean, this film is based on a John le Carre novel, so of course there's going to be some kind of violence or tension in the film. And the violence that you do see, it is quite heated and quite aggressive as well. It's very impressively staged, and you do get that really real sense of high stakes and people actually being injured rather than just acting out and, you know, a choreographed kind of scene. It's quite effective. So the fight scenes that do happen, you know, it's everything from shootouts where people are obviously shot and you see, you know, dead bodies lying on the ground. One scene in particular is quite graphic. It's very, very tense, and it's one of the opening scenes, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a very special bond between these people who are shot, and it's quite scary, particularly for the third person who is shot, who watches the people before them being killed. It's quite harrowing and a little bit bloody. You do see in these scenes, you see quite a bit of blood spatter and gore. In that first scene, you actually see the side of somebody's head being blown off. So it's, yeah, like I said, it's kind of violent. So you've got the shooting scenes, and the film's actually kind of bookended by shooting scenes. And in between you have sort of fist fighting and people being pursued. And when they do catch up with one another, people are punched and headbutted. There's people who are stabbed. And as I said, even in these kind of fighting battle scenes between usually just maybe two people, you do see blood spatter and a high level of this tension. So it can, you know, make for heightened viewing. One scene I want to mention is a possible rape scene, and it occurs at a party where the woman, it appears that the sex has probably started out consensually. In fact, there is the implication that she might even be a prostitute, so it could be paid for sex, but clearly it's turned aggressive and somewhat violent. You see vision of her being taken from behind by this very aggressive and frightening looking male. He's fully nude from behind, and she's obviously very distressed. She's crying, she's screaming, she's clearly distressed by what's happening. And then the scene kind of ends. But yeah, you do see that. So other things of violence to look out for or keep in mind, there is an animal is killed. You don't see it happen, but you hear the yelp when it happens, and then a couple of minutes or so later, you see the corpse of the animal with a knife sticking out of the body. And there's also an aircraft crash, so there's an explosion midair, and then the aircraft plummets to the ground, and you understand that deaths have been involved in this crash. So in a very broad sense, I guess that's the blood and gore and the violence. I should add that with the violence, there's quite a few stories of violence told through the film as well. So it's mentioned quite a few times, in addition to what you see. Onto the sex and nudity. Yes, there's a fair bit of male nudity and full frontal male nudity. One of the main characters you do see fully nude. I'm not going to tell you who it is. But yes, there's definitely quite a bit of male nudity. It's very, non-threatening, most of it. And some of it is from a distance. Other scenes are pretty close up in your face, if you like. You do also see some female nudity. You see a woman, well, there's a couple actually having sex. So you see her exposed breast, and then she gets up and leaves the bedroom or leaves the bed, and you see her fully nude from behind. You don't really see any kind of full frontal female nudity though. And with the sex scenes, there's that sex scene that I just mentioned. There's also that possible rape scene, which I mentioned earlier. And there's another scene as well where a woman walks past a couple that appear to be having sex against a wall in public. So yeah, there's a bit of sex in the film as well. So on to the swearing. There is quite a bit of swearing in the film, quite frequent swearing. The C word is used once, and there's quite heavy use of the F word, S word, and I think A word is only used once throughout the whole film. And finally, the alcohol and drug use. There's a fair bit of drugs. Well, not a huge amount, but it does have a presence in the film. You see someone snorting white powder, which is assumed to be cocaine, and you see someone smoking a joint. And there is one scene which takes place in an apartment, and everyone, it doesn't specifically say what these people have been doing, but by the look of them, it looks like a kind of crack den. I mean, these people look pretty rough and they look pretty out of it, and a bit of violence happens in that particular scene as well. So, yeah, for me, I'm going with crack den. They just don't, it just looks like it is. So, yeah, but that is about it. I want to add with the violence as well, there is some kind of, some of the violence happens where, you know, a woman is slapped and her nose is bloody, and you also see a father slap his daughter quite hard across the face. And with the blood, I mean, I don't think I quite kind of covered it as clearly as I could have earlier. It is quite bloody when you do see the blood in these violent episodes. So you do see very bloody faces and hands and knuckles, bloody noses. You see quite a few bloody noses. So yeah, blood and gore definitely does have a theme in this film. So go and check it out. I mean, personally, I'm a big Ewan McGregor fan, and I will watch anything that he's in. I do really enjoy it. But the scene-stealing performances actually come from Stellan Skarsgård, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm really terrible with names, so I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. But his performance in this is just, it's actually hilarious. It's a real joy to watch. So if you do see it, let me know what you think. There's a more detailed breakdown of the film and of the content of the film on the website, so check that out if you like. But before you go, please don't forget to subscribe.